Hey guys. So I just had my second session with the mental health team, and it was tricky because some of you guys have said go in there and try to make friends with him. Some of you have said don't tell them anything. So I went in there initially to say nothing, and I was there on time. And when I got there, the doctor wasn't there. It was just the bail supervisor and the office manager. And they took me into the office to tell me that recording them last week was a violation of their privacy and that they didn't appreciate it. They asked me if I had any questions about that. I didn't say anything. And then they said, okay, Stuart, so we've come to realize that you're going to be going before the judge on the 5th. So you're going to be here anyway next week, so do you want to have this session, or do you just want to see us when you come see the judge next week? And that was kind of a trick question, right? So part of me was thinking, well, I'll just come back next week and see the judge and handle all this then, because I don't really want to be subjected to that doctor's questions and the 4-on-1 situation again. So part of me was thinking, okay, do I come back next week and handle it all then, or do I cooperate more this week so that Chris, the bail supervisor, will have to tell the judge that I participated, that I cooperated, that I attended, that I met the conditions of my release? So I said, no, you know what, let me stay. I'll stay and wait for the doctor who wasn't there on time, who was conveniently late. I said, I'll stay and wait for the doctor. So I was the one who said, I'm willing to stay. I'm willing to have this session. Can we please have this session? So by asking me, do you want to have the session today, or do you want to just do it all next week, they put the onus on me to say, no, I don't. If I said, no, I don't, that means I don't want to participate. If I say, yes, I do, then I do want to participate. Either way, I'm giving them what they want, right? If I say no, I'm not cooperative. If I say yes, I need psychiatric care. So it's an old game, so I said fine. But the reason I said fine, let me talk to the doctor, was because I know from last week that he needed me to give him my consent to talk to my physician. Oh, I've said his name. You guys know who he is. To give him consent to talk to my doctor, so that he can say that I'm cooperating. So I went in there today with the transcript. And by the way, when I showed them this, they were all passing it around, saying that the time that I had taken, basically, to type the transcript from last week's session, this is 16 pages long. The whole thing is there. So that's the whole transcript from last week. They were looking at this and they were saying, wow, that's a little weird, Stuart. I mean, who does that? They were trying to make me taking the time to be able to defend myself today and turning it into me needing medication. Both of the doctors mentioned medication today. So they've introduced that into the discussion. Dr. MacEwan and Dr. Browning both mentioned medication today. And when I tried showing them the pictures from the videos, the snapshots, they were not that interested. I even started talking to them about what happened to me at the border. And I was explaining how that border guard, that Customs and Border Patrol agent, was trying to get me to consent to something that she didn't say. And they weren't listening. They really didn't want to hear it. They were like, Stuart, I think you're just a little paranoid, right? So when you try to defend yourself, when you try to think for yourself and figure out a way to defend yourself, you're paranoid. Okay? And when you trust them, you're giving them an opportunity to just get their tentacles in you and get you medicated. If that's something that they get to run with because of something that happened 20 years ago, which did happen to me 20 years ago. Right? I was in sessions, I was taking medication, I haven't taken any for 3 years, and you see how amazing you can be when you wean yourself off prescription medication and get yourself together with being honest about what's true, with being honest about your research, with being good to yourself, eating well, getting exercise, getting sunshine, and picking your battles. I picked a battle 11 months ago, and it was against Watchtower. And they're trying to turn that into evidence that I need medication. Both doctors introduced a medication today. And I was talking to them the way I'm talking to you now, and that other doctor, Dr. Browning, shouted at me. She goes, "Stuart, you're manic right now." And I was showing them the documents, and they were like holding it and wanting to zero in on one part, trying to get me. They were trying to agitate me. They were really trying to agitate me today. So Dr. MacEwan was getting agitated, Dr. Browning was barking at me, and the other two were just sort of sitting there. So really, I told them some more stuff about when I started treatment, starting back when I was 15, just to keep family happy. So really, we're talking about something going back over 25 years, that took 25 years to live with and finally leave behind me, which I've left behind 3 years now. It's been 3 years since I've taken medication, and you see what I'm capable of. And you know what you're capable of, those of you that have done the same thing. You know what you're capable of in the last year or 2 or 5 or 10 or 20 when you flushed that medication and told the doctors what they can do with their diagnosis. So I might have a diagnosis, but the videos speak for themselves, that I'm not mentally unfit, that I'm calm, that I'm nonviolent, and that I'm coherent, and that Jehovah's Witnesses need the ones who need to be examined. And by the way, I asked the doctor, have you had any experience treating people who've survived being in a harmful, abusive cult, doctor? Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Mormons, ex-Scientologists? And he said, no. And I said, well, that doesn't really inspire confidence, He's like, whatever. So he was glib when he wanted to be glib. He wanted to be pointed when he wanted to be pointed, so that he could attribute what I'm doing to my so-called mental illness. But there is no mental illness there. So they tried running a game on me, asking me, do I want to just wait or do I want to come to the session today? Which is a win-win situation for them. So I did my best. Of course, I didn't record. They really checked to make sure I wasn't recording. I asked for permission to record, and he said no. I said, why not? He said, because. I said, why not? He said, because. So I consented anyway. So those of you who are watching on the side, Dr. MacEwan, Dr. Browning, Andrew, Chris, I know you're watching this video, okay? I don't need Dr. MacEwan's treatment. I don't need medication. I have a very good relationship with the physician already. So if you go before the judge and tell her that you all agreed that Stuart needs psychiatric care and that the conditions of release could afford to be imposed for a little bit longer, Your Honor, I fear for the safety of Jehovah's Witnesses, you're being dishonest. When you haven't even watched any of my activism videos and you won't let me talk about it in those sessions. So next week, guys, I'm going to see the judge. I'm going to request the audio CD, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I still haven't heard back from the Vancouver Police Department today, by the way, so now I have to call them again to complain about the assaults and the stalking behavior and the threatening statements about I'm being watched at night. So I now have to go out of my way to get a police officer to listen to me. Okay? So when you scare one of Jehovah's Witnesses and make them feel uncomfortable and fear for injury, you get a police visit. You get arrested. You get brought before the judge after having been in jail for 14 hours, not being given an opportunity to defend yourself, and you get to meet with a mental health team 4 times a week before you see that judge again. And you have impossible to follow conditions imposed on you, and when you talk about how impossible those conditions are to follow, you get told you're manic. You're acting very manic, like she barked at me. And then she laughed at me. They asked, Stuart, do you think that medication would help you? And I just ignored them. I just ignored the question. She was like, so it's funny to them. It's funny to you, Dr. Browning, isn't it? That my freedom is on the chopping block. And what you say, what you and Dr. MacEwan decide to say to Chris that he'll pass on to the judge and the Crown Counsel is the difference between me being able to go free, exercise my rights the way Jehovah's Witnesses are exercising theirs, or have to try to meet these conditions which are impossible to meet. So it's funny to you. Yeah, so it's funny to those in power who decide on whether or not you and I go free, viewers. See? So I tried communicating to them that there's your privacy and your job as a medical health professional, and then there's my freedom. So forgive me for not knowing exactly how to proceed in this session right now. So I cooperated, I didn't cooperate, I went back and forth. This is not easy, viewers. This is not easy, and I appreciate your help, your support, your comments. I really hope that there's a lawyer out there watching all of this and understands what's happening exactly. As captivating as what's happening to me might be to you, please, if you're in a position to help me, please help me, because I'm going before the judge on Tuesday to ask for that audio CD, but no doubt I'm going to be in trouble for filming inside to protect myself. So part of me wants to say nothing, but part of me also has to speak up so that I can get my hands on that audio CD, so that I can confirm what was actually said is what's on that transcript, so that I can defend myself. I still haven't heard back from the Privacy and Information Unit. I haven't gotten that acknowledgement of request for the information that's going to take 30 working days to come, so I won't even be able to defend myself. Even if I was a lawyer, I wouldn't be able to defend myself and prepare a defense between now and the time I'm supposed to go see the judge. So a lot of dirty tricks being played, viewers, and when I mention it to the doctor, they don't want to hear about it. I showed him the transcript that came from the U.S. Customs Border Patrol that they tried to get me to consent to, where stuff was said that I wasn't told. And he was jumping all over it and trying to say, were you suspicious? And what kind of questions were they asking you? Did you feel singled out? So they're trying to attribute paranoia to me now. They were trying to attribute paranoia to me. See, so they slap you with conditions that are impossible to fully abide by. A week and a half into living under those conditions, you meet with a mental health professional who's trying to introduce into the dialogue that you're paranoid. I'm sorry I can't bring you the footage, viewers, but you can picture it happening, right? Please tell me I don't have to, please don't tell me that any of you are doubting me. So they were introducing that I'm paranoid, introducing that I need medication, refusing to watch any of the videos, grabbing at paperwork that I was showing them and kind of keeping it from me when I wanted to take it back, really trying to get under my skin, trying to get me agitated, shouting at me that I'm manic, you're manic now. Like, you should have seen this, doctor. I was even joking with Dr. MacEwan, you're starting to get a little agitated, doctor. Have you ever been diagnosed with a mental disorder? Could you use some medication? And they were all laughing. See? So when they ask me, and I laugh, it's a problem. But when I jokingly ask them, we all laugh because it's no big deal. But they were losing their cool with me, grabbing at papers, introducing medication, introducing that I'm paranoid into the discussion. So I thought I was doing better than I'm doing. I'm not doing as well as I thought, viewers. So so I consented to the release of medical records and medical history from my physician so that they can read that. But yeah, they're probably going to say, well, you either submit to the treatment or we'll have no choice but to continue to impose the conditions for the sake of preserving peace. See, so they're going to be the ones preserving peace, protecting the public interest and defending the greater good by keeping those conditions imposed on me, or by having me receive treatment and start taking medication again, which I'll of course never do. See? So you and I, as ex-cult members, don't protect the public by exposing cults. Okay? Police and judges and lawyers and mental health professionals will protect society from you and I by taking us to jail in the middle of the night, moving us to 5 or 6 cells over a 14-hour period, keeping us awake, keeping us intimidated, bringing us before the judge where we're given 11 conditions of release to sign, or go back to our cell. And then when you consent, which of course you're going to do, or maybe that's the lesson, viewers. Maybe that's the lesson. That's the lesson. So for those of you who are prepared to go do what I've done, even harder, when they bring you to jail, when they kidnap you, when they throw you in the back of a meat wagon, when they don't identify themselves, when they don't let you know exactly who it is that's accusing you and you have no idea who they are, and they keep you up for 14 hours or 14 days or whatever, and then they bring you before the judge, and the judge basically says, okay, ma'am, sir, you can either sign these conditions of your release or you can go back to your cell. Don't sign those conditions of release. Go back to your cell. So that's the lesson. See? So for the next Adrian, the next Derek O'Hare, the next I'm Worldly, the next Stacey Lopez, the next Trisha Frangina that's watching this, that was the mistake I made. Okay? Jehovah's Witnesses are going to have you go to jail. Jehovah's Witnesses are going to use the police to make your life difficult. And when you get presented with conditions of your release, after having been in jail for however long, don't sign it. I made the mistake of signing those conditions of release, which of course I was going to under those circumstances. And now you see what I've allowed them to do. See? Now I'm supposed to be upset. Now I'm supposed to be angry. So everybody can say, look how angry he is. I always knew how angry Stuart was. Oh, what a shame. If only Jehovah had been a little more patient with him, but it's the end, so too bad. Yeah, too bad these people haven't responded to Jehovah, everybody. Yeah, if only you and I hadn't neglected our spiritual routine, if only you and I hadn't neglected our personal prayer, etc., we wouldn't be having these problems. So, I'm really in the thick of it now, viewers, and I need some help still, you guys. I need some help. So I need a lawyer. I hope somebody out there is watching and paying attention, because all the advice is good advice. Consenting, not consenting. So
it's easy to love me now. Would you love me if I was down and out? Would you still have love for me, girl?